are listening to Come As You Are, the podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I'm joined by my two friends, Amanda and Tyler. We are a trio of coaches on a mission to ignite a collective movement where authenticity, self-discovery, and purposeful living take center stage. Each episode, we go live in the Kaya way. Kaya is an open invitation to show up authentically and vulnerably. It's a safe space to allow ourselves to be worthy and enough now. It's a celebration of our individuality and diversity. So welcome to the show. We are happy that you're here, and we invite you to join us in today's conversation.
Hello.
Hello.
Here we are.
Another Monday.
Another epic episode. You know, question mark. Maybe no question mark.
No
but
question
they're
mark.
always epic, but who knows? I have no idea.
We don't
know where we're going today.
We don't know.
What is the epicness that we will land on? I guess is the question mark.
Oh, that's a beautiful.
Ooh, good
so
question.
what's your Kaya vibe today?
Ooh, Kaya vibe today. Showing up, I think, in just the somewhat in between. So I'm like working on a bunch of new projects and they haven't fully come to life yet. So kind of like in that in between of, I don't know exactly how this is all going to turn out, how all the puzzle pieces kind of are going to fit together. I have a general sense of like what the puzzle looks like, but I don't necessarily yet have the box. So I don't know exactly what the puzzle looks like, but I have some pieces together, so I'm getting an idea. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at today. What about you guys?
Do you want to speak any of your projects into existence? Like, can we help you manifest?
Well, I'm working on a workshop for parents, a parenting workshop, which I'm super excited with. I've partnered with a registered dietitian, so that should be super fun. So we're bringing together like a very holistic vibe of like life and health and food and all of that fun stuff all together. And then working towards growing our homeschooling platform. So adding some new programs and workshops and fun stuff there, and getting a more systematized or automated platform. So it makes it easier for us to like register and all of those things. So putting together like app and what the design and all of that looks like. So it's a lot of like, I don't have exactly all of it yet together, but you know, it's coming together, which is super exciting to see. But I feel like sometimes it's like, I just want to like know exactly what the puzzle looks like. Like, give me the box already. I want to know what the box looks like.
What's the picture on the box?
Yeah, exactly.
That is literally the story of my life.
Tell us, Tyler.
I'm in a very similar space, Amanda. Very similar, like in the middle, transition-y, like lots of energy circulating, but not yet coming back. I don't know. Like I was just saying before we went live, like this, where I'm at right now is 6 years worth of work finally manifesting, finally like coming together and being like, oh, this was the plan all along. And it's very exciting. And I'm so close to the finish line and so close to like I can see the end goal. I can see the end vision, very similar to, I think, what you were just describing, where it's like, I can visualize it, I can picture it, but I just don't quite know how it's all going to come together and align. That's where I'm at right now. Like I've got two really incredible things that are like happening in my world. And one of them is a new job opportunity, which would be like a full-time position doing just something that I think is like the most incredible thing in the world. And then pairing that with like what I'm doing right now in my coaching world and with my own program. And yeah, so lots of building, lots of like energy getting exported, just yet hasn't quite fully manifested and hasn't quite fully like come together, but it's like so close. It's so close. And I'm like, I just want to sign the contract for this job because I know it's there. I know it's there. Like I've never felt like I belonged somewhere quite like I belong in this space. And it was like, this is what I've been praying for years in terms of like, again, I didn't know it was going to manifest and turn it and like exactly come out like this. But when I look at the work that I would be doing and I look at the impact that I'd get to have every day, like this is exactly why I fell in love with coaching and why I love the work that we get to do. And I can taste it. Like it's right here on the tip of my tongue. And it's like, so that's
Feeling
how
that momentum.
yeah, it's like an explosion. It's like, okay, 6 years though of like work, 6 years of progress, of discovery, all finally coming together in the most beautiful way. It's incredible.
It's a beautiful example of like that growth and the perseverance. And often I think sometimes the, patience that sometimes is required, when we sign up for this journey of life, and how much faith that truly takes, and the frustration, like, you're saying like, this is what I've been praying for. And it's like, well, how come in the last 6 years my prayers haven't been answered, right? Like, so easy to fall into that trap. And then suddenly starting to see like, oh, wait a minute. There it is. There it is. So I'm curious, Stephanie, like, what are you checking in with? Are you resonating? Are you aligning with any of these vibes?
Would it be weird if I said no right now?
It would, because we're so aligned, Stephanie.
So I'm not gonna say no because it's also the truth. When you said patience, I was like, what is that foreign concept you talk about? I have actually been, I'd say for the majority of my journey as a coach, been in a space where I didn't have enough patience, where I was very impatient. And honestly, I can say that I'm actually right now in a place where I have it, or where I can just like channel my patience and trust the process and be like, yep, I'm not at the finish line right now or close to it. And it feels really good. Like I like that I have a plan for like the foreseeable future, and I'm enjoying the journey a lot right now. So I'm very okay with not knowing at the moment, but I know that this is seasonal. I know that it can change too in the future. And I've also had like a really cool conversation with another coach last week about this, about our future in like our like how our businesses are, like our plans that we have for our businesses and how it's all going to evolve and so on. And we talked about these like two different types of futures, like the work self and then the personal self. And I thought that was so interesting, the kind of like a little bit of a gap that I had there between, oh, how clearly do I see myself in my work self in the future? And that with my personal self, I didn't so much, because I'm like right now in this space where I'm like all work, and I'm having the time of my life. and then she was like, yeah, well, what does your personal self look like? You're like, I'm like, I don't care, as long as my work self is fine. And it made me actually realize, okay, maybe I should care a little more about it and find a little bit more of an equilibrium there. So that was interesting. Yeah. So I wouldn't say I'm like so close to a finish line as the two of you are right now. Just very much enjoying the journey.
I like that concept of work self versus personal self. Like I was giggling as you were talking about it, Stephanie, because I was like, oh, yep, that's me. Like, I don't like, It's well, yeah, I know. Surprise, surprise, y'all. I think it's so hard to separate your work self from your personal self when your life is guided by passion.
Ooh, interesting. And do you have to divide the two?
I don't know. Like that's because my therapist has pointed out something very similar with me. And she's like, Tyler, you're so focused on work and so focused on career. Well, yeah, because my career is my calling. My career, like I don't just wake up and go to work and collect a paycheck. No, for 6 years, I've been developing my calling. I've been developing something so much greater than a paycheck that, of course, I wake up every day and I think about it and I'm immersed in it. And I'm constantly working. But like to me, I don't know, maybe this is just a coaching thing. I don't know. But like for me, it doesn't feel like work. Nothing that I've done over 6 years really feels like what I would define as like traditional work. It just feels like an extension of my heart, an extension of my passion. And like, I'm not going to apologize because I make that my identity. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like, I'm actually like, when I think about where I'm at right now in terms of life, like I'm very happy with where I'm at. I'm very happy with the fact that I wake up and I have passion and motivation and drive to go do something that I believe to be bigger than myself. I'm very happy with like, my gym and this newfound like health space. Like that's my hobby. Health is my hobby and coaching is my work and my passion. And those are my two personalities right now. And like, do we need to be more than that, And like finding that balance, because I find fun in the gym. I find fun in the podcast that we're doing here. I find fun in building back-end automations when other people are like, that sounds disgusting. And I'm like, nope, like it's just, these are all like, I feel like I'm at play every single day. Do you guys feel that way with like the work that you do?
Yeah. And so I wonder if the question is more than like, how do we blend them? Right? Because I don't know, from what, or maybe Stephanie, like chime in and like, I'm assuming I'm seeing the head nod. So I'm guessing you're like, yeah, I feel that too. But I just wonder if like, the question is how do we align them more? Maybe it isn't about actually separating them. It's how do we have them overlap? Because from what I'm getting from what we're saying now is right that because we're so passionate and driven by passion and heart-centered in what we do, that it doesn't feel like work. And to me, isn't that what it's supposed to be? Like,
why are we even asking this as a question? And I love that you were bringing this up, and also the question about like the splitting, because I had this image immediately of you, Amanda, and you're sitting at work and you were helping teenagers thrive, and then you go home and you have an almost teenager at home. So I don't think you can if you wanted to separate these two.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, isn't that like, is the goal really to separate them? Because that seems like the implication from even like your therapist, Tyler, like, that there has to be a separation. And does there? And I would agree that I think for a lot of coaches that there is a whole lot of overlap, because a lot of the work that we do, it's like is an expression of maybe a past version of ourselves that we want to help others so they don't have to struggle the way that, through whatever that looks like, the way that we did in the past. And I think that's like in a business sense, like this is the niche, right? This is how we define that. But at the end of the day, it's also an expression of ourselves and our passions. I don't know.
I wonder if this is one of those things where the answer is like seasons. I find that often this is my answer, that it's not always the same and it changes. Because right now I'm also so tuned into my work and building a coaching program, and like I'm having the best time of my life doing that. And what I've reflected on this weekend is actually that, and I shared this year before, that last year I got really into video editing, and I just really enjoy video editing just for fun, and then maybe I put them on YouTube, maybe not, and maybe it has nothing to do even with coaching. It's just so fun for me to put something together that other people can watch and then just laugh about it or have a good time or enjoy the content or whatever, right? And ever since I got like more focused, for some reason, I don't know, there's just this catalyzer inside of me that's like, go, 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 have fun, fun, fun. And this is what I do right now. And I focus on building my coaching program. And honestly, I don't have time for it right now. Or let's put it this way, I don't have energy for it, I would say. Like I do my things and I have having a ton of fun with it. And then at the end of the day, I also need some time to just, cool down and whatever. And then the day is over. And I've thought about this from time to time in the last few weeks of like, yeah, I really miss just sometimes goofing around and sitting there and doing the video editing. I haven't done that in like months now, I think, honestly. But on the other hand, if I were to just really make that decision consciously every day, what do I want to do? Do I want to work on my coaching program, or do I want to video edit? I would go, no, I want to work on my coaching program. So it's like prioritizing. And so I wonder if this is a season now, and this is kind of like, I want to say, the price I have to pay for focusing on my purpose or my passion. I don't know. It feels right, but there's still a little bit of sadness in it too. But it still feels right. Does that make sense?
No. I love this concept of like seasons. I like this whole idea of like we go through seasons of life. Seasons of, we're focused more on this, or our energy looks more like that. And because I've been doing a lot of reflecting, because that's, again, what we do is we reflect a lot as coaches. I just think that's natural for us to do that. But I've been thinking a lot back to my 20s and, the decade that I spent in my 20s. And there was a season of my life where I went out a lot, like a lot, because somebody asked me the other day, they were like, so do you go clubbing anymore? And I'm like, no, I'm almost 32. I'm not going clubbing anymore. Like, but there was a time when I lived in Chicago, I was out every single weekend, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, fun day. Like, I mean, it was like that was a whole chapter of my life that was spent socializing and clubbing and day drinking and like all of these kind of things. And that chapter has ended. That season has come to an end, And it's like, okay, now what season of life am I in? You use the word season, and I've always used it as chapters. I've always looked at it as like, okay, this is a chapter of my life. And I think, when I look back, I always go, wow, I've had beautiful chapters, I look back and I go, wow, there was a lot of like fun during that chapter, but not a lot of focus. And now I'm in a chapter of focus, a chapter of discipline and dedication. And so, of course, life looks differently now than it did 10 years ago when I was going through my chapter of fun, chapter of debauchery and day drinking. And, but again, I had those moments. And, you know, I look at, and I think this comes back to the concept of like growth-minded people. And I think growth-minded people understand this concept of seasons or chapters, where it's like, okay, we spend one period of time where our life looks like this, and now we're in a new period of time where our life looks like this instead. Because I have friends whose chapters, they all look the same, and they've looked the same for decades now. And again, I'm not saying that there's a right or a wrong way to go about this, but I think for us and the three of us collectively, we really appreciate having like distinct chapters of our life or seasons of our life where we are focused on a project, or we are focused on something, or, you know, whatever. And I think that's very coach energy to like have these seasons or these chapters. And I think it comes back to, you know, being growth minded or more fixed minded, you know. And I think there's some overlap in all of that. But yeah, Stephanie, I love the word seasons, and I've always called them chapters, but same concept.
Well, and I guess the idea is to like not lose your identity, lose who you are in your work, I guess, I think is what they're trying to get at here, right? But like, as I'm hearing you both share, I think that doesn't mean that who we are or even our businesses don't evolve with us. And I think what I'm like juggling in my brain is this, like, because what we do as coaches is so much an extension of who we are, it's challenging to somewhat like separate the two. And I think that making that distinction is when we start to get lost in our work, we get so caught up, and we're on that path to burnout. Do you know what I mean? And so being mindful of that. However, I don't see there being anything wrong with this overlap between who you are and your business. And it just gets into tricky territory when it's leading to burnout and you're so like just in work mode. And maybe that's something, you know, as we talk about like our passion and how that is such an extension of our businesses, or our work is so much an extension of that. It's just like a mindful awareness of, okay, you don't want to get so in the, what do you call, like, quote unquote work space that we burn out. But beyond that, I don't know that I'm not sure that I can like get on the train of fully separating everything. I'm struggling with that.
No, I wouldn't do that either. And from the conversation I had with my friend about it, it wasn't necessarily to have like a clear identity of, oh, who's my work self and then who's my personal self, and then pursue those individually. It was more, I think our conversation was more leading towards that when I think about my future, I think work first, and then like personal things, something that may not be so related to work, let's put it this way. It's kind of like second, third, last, whatever kind of, right? So not too important. And I think it just, that conversation we had just helped me realize, oh, that doesn't feel so right. You know? It's just like, oh, that, because then what can happen very quickly, what you were saying, Amanda, if I don't pay too much attention to my personal self, which I also consider the space where I take care of myself, then the burnout can happen pretty quickly. Yeah.
So it's like painting a brighter picture of who you are becoming.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
And it sounds like finding balance in the becoming.
Ooh.
Like, you know, because I do think when we are so passionate about what we do, I think it's natural for us to lead with career, lead with business, lead with like that version of ourselves. But, and this is something that I'm discovering as I'm navigating all of this, is you have to have that balance. You have to have the awareness to go, okay, it's time to shut my computer and go do something else, or go unplug and recharge or rest, or, whatever that looks like. Actually, those are three good R's: rest, recharge. What was the other one that I said? Relax. Was that one? Yeah. And they're all very different. Like relaxing for me looks different than recharging and resting, obviously. But you need that in order to then maintain the stamina to go do the things that we want to do. And the reason why we are coaches, and the reason why we are entrepreneurs and in this space of building something, is because we have such a clear vision. We have such a strong heart and passion towards it. But, we are also human, and we only have so much battery. We only have so much ability to show up every single day. And how are we prioritizing that charge, And again, coming back to the seasons and the chapters, sometimes we're putting more of our charge in the business, But I also have learned that it is very important to balance out all of that working. And yeah, I don't know, it's just it's like we're playing this this big balancing game with life. It's like, oh, we got to move a little bit over here and a little bit over there, and find this beautiful equilibrium where we're just operating at the most primed space.
Mm-hmm.
And that looks so different for every single person. And that's what's really cool about it, is finding out what pieces do you need to move in your world to find that equilibrium and that perfect balance place, so that you can have it all. And I'm going to go there. I'm going to say, y'all, we can have it all. I'm just going to throw it out there and say, you can have it all if you want it all. But when you embrace that mindset, you have to become a master balancer.
Oh gosh, you said the B word way too many times. I'm so triggered, Tyler. I'm like,
Go.
balance.
No.
Because for me, I saw it on your face.
Amanda and I, we were having this telepathic side conversation as you were talking, and every time you said balance, there's
fill me
another bomb dropping.
What was the telepathic side conversation that I missed?
I love that, because I totally saw us both doing exactly that. I totally felt that, because that B word is so triggering. It's so challenging, because for me, how sort of I agree with what you're saying. However, at the same time, I think in some ways reframing or replacing this, because balance to me implies 50-50. It implies that everything, and I know that's not what you're trying to say. That's why I agree with what you're getting at. But for me, that balance word is super triggering, because it makes you think that it has to be 50-50. That to me, that takes seasons off the table, right? Mm-hmm. It takes the chapters off the table. It has to be balanced. Mm-hmm. And if it's not balanced, then it's not working. And so for me, what I've reframed whenever I have this urge to put in, oh yeah, well, I just need to balance. I'm like, no. You need to find harmony. Right? We find harmony in those bits and pieces working together. So that was like our telepathic conversation. And Stephanie, please add like what other thoughts you were having. But that's like what comes up for me whenever I hear someone say like, oh, you just need to balance. I'm like, oh, wait, let's clarify.
I have that same, I went through that same thought process as you, Amanda. I just put it in different words. So the way that I see it is, and this is also why I actually would say that it's not that it's not true or that I don't believe in what you said, Tyler. It's just, I just call it so differently. That when you do something and it feels right, like that inner harmony kind of word, to pick Amanda's word, it's aligned with who you are, like it's aligned with your purpose. Anything you do that's aligned with your purpose brings you joy as you're doing it, kind of like we do with coaching, right? It just brings us joy. And so I could sit there and I could coach for 4 hours, and maybe at some point my system tells me, hey, yay, this was fun. And now what would be even more fun is to take a break. So whenever I'm aligned, whenever I do something that brings me joy, and that can be the coaching, it can be the rest, like that's the way to go. And then I never have to think about, oh, am I doing enough of this or am I doing enough of that? Because when I can just listen to my inner compass, then I have all the answers. And I've actually had a coach that I really, really like say this on a podcast the other day I listened to. And she also said, I think she was asked the question, what's like one of the biggest things you regret in your business or mistakes or something like that? And of course, we don't believe in mistakes, right? We just believe in lessons learned or whatever. And she said that exact same thing. And I felt so like validated in that moment. She said that the more I tune in and just do the things I love to do, the more money I make, because she's a money coach. So that was just the conversation. And I thought, wow, that's so good. It's so good that she's saying that. So it really isn't about the, oh, I have to do this, but just tuning into yourself and doing the things that bring you joy, and that will get you where you need to go. So yeah, I just also feel so triggered by balance, and I always call it joy in alignment.
Exactly, but the essence of like the point you were trying to make, I think, it's just literally language. Like it's just language, but language can make such a difference, right? Like it can. Like the fact that we're sitting here being triggered by like a word, like what does that even mean?
I mean, it means a lot. It actually means a lot because number one, you have to find the right words that work for you. I say this a lot when I'm teaching clients marketing. Marketing all follows the same systems, the same strategies, but what makes marketing so powerful is when you find the right language, the right words that speak deeper than the surface level, that really hit you at your soul. When you read your ad copy and you go, yeah, that's me. That's my work. That's what I do. This is very true for specifically coaches. And so language is so important. And it's so funny because when I use the word balance, I don't mean 50-50. Yeah. I don't mean, this like peaceful, equilibrium space, because to me, even equilibrium doesn't mean equal in all areas. It means that like you're operating, and I liked Stephanie used the word tuning there. She just used the word there. And it reminds me of like tuning into a radio station and tuning into frequencies. And you have to find your frequency. You have to.
Oh, we have to find Tyler's frequency. What just happened? Tyler froze. Where did you go, Tyler? Hello.
It was just getting so good.
Right?
It was building up to something.
Yeah, definitely building up to something. Just leave us hanging like that.
Yeah. It's like so deep in thought. I'm sure it was his internet. He's gonna be back in a second.
Yeah, I bet. But I love this. I love this conversation, and I'm so glad that we're unpacking words. Like it's actually so much fun.
Can you guys hear me?
You're back now. Yes, you're back.
Yeah.
All right. Side Side note, it's 2025. The internet should not be dropping anymore. Like, if we can do all of this incredible AI crap, there should be no reason why internet should ever drop. Okay? I'm just, and I live in a very populated area of the country. Like, it's not like I'm in the boondocks. I'm literally in a city.
But did
So
you not also mention
internet,
last week that you didn't have any electricity? So
I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
So maybe fix the electricity first before you fix the internet.
No. Internet first. I can live without power.
It's more important. Okay.
It is. Yeah. In today's day and world, yes, internet is more important than power. Although you need power.
How do the two? Yeah, the two kind of
power up your devices to then connect to the internet. So, I guess.
But isn't that interesting? Actually, like making that full circle and that full connection of like how everything is so connected. Whether it's this like we're trying to find the harmony, the tuning, the balancing, the like equilibrium, like all of these words, whatever you like, language resonates for you. But like really trying to have that mindful awareness that everything is truly connected.
Yeah. It is. And I don't know where I dropped off at, but
everything is connected until someone pulls the plug. Like,
yes.
You were talking about that it's like the radio, like a radio.
Your dial tones. It's like finding it's finding your channel, your specific frequency or dial tones on like a radio. And I just had, as you guys were talking about balance and this whole thing, it brought me back to the Wheel of Life exercise. And I remember doing the Wheel of Life exercise for the very first time and kind of hating the Wheel of Life, because I feel like the Wheel of Life in some degree is like, oh, you want to get every area to be a 10, which is balance, which is like all one number equal. And the other day I did the Wheel of Life just for fun. I was bored this is what I do when I'm bored. I'm like, oh, let's just do a little coaching exercise. And I pulled it out and I was doing the Wheel of Life and I was like, oh, this looks really good. And yeah, there was like, but I looked at it for the first time and I went, oh, instead of trying to get this to be all perfect 10s, what if this was like the frequency that I need to be operating at? So like, right now, like business is at a 10. Health is at a 10. Hobbies might be at like a 4 because I don't have, as Stephanie was saying, I don't have all of the time right now to be doing hobbies, and that's okay. So I looked at the Wheel of Life for the first time and I went, oh, this is like my frequency. This is like my dial tones, where it's like, am I okay with this number? And I looked at them and I was like, yep, I'm good. And I was like, for the first time, I was like, oh, my Wheel of Life is, I'm going to use the word balanced, but it was not, it doesn't look balanced, but given my season, I was exactly where I needed to be with all of that. And that was like a flip for me, because I remember doing the Wheel of Life exercise for the first time and feeling almost shame or guilt that I wasn't at a perfect 10 for all of these. And then it flipped on me and it was like, oh, this isn't about hitting a perfect 10. This is about assessing and asking yourself, are you okay with this number, with this category? And if you can answer yes to that, great. You're operating at your frequency. It's dialed in to your season of life. And I was like, that's a really cool way to kind of look at that exercise from a different angle.
Well, first of all, tell me you're a coach. I'm telling you. Second of all, I think it's really interesting when we do these types of exercises, or it's really important rather, that we are looking at it from a space of curiosity, because we can get into that judgment space of like, oh, look, my wheel isn't perfectly round, and and who says it has to be? Like who gets to say? We do. We get to decide. And like you're saying, Tyler, right? Like giving yourself permission or making it okay that, yeah, you know what? Maybe they're not all a 10, and that's okay. And maybe, at different seasons and different chapters that the wheel looks different, and it most certainly does, right? And I think that's so important is in anything that we do is to lead with curiosity and not to be in this space of judgment, because that's just a recipe for disaster.
Mm.
I just had this like image in my head, someone sitting there like a coach doing the wheel of life, and then everything's at a 7 except for maybe health is at a 10, and then that coach is sitting there thinking, I think I have to sabotage my health, though it's also at a 7, so that my wheel of life.
What do I need to give up so I can bring this 10 down to a 7 and create equilibrium?
Well, and I wonder too if it's like finding that like the threshold, right? Like, if, for you, like how am I, hold on. I'm trying to like formulate my thoughts here. I'm trying to like put this into words. And like, it's making sense in my head when I see the visual of it. But like, I'm wondering if like, we say kind of like we set a minimum standard almost. I don't know if this is going to make sense when I explain it, so bear with me. But what I'm trying to say is like, if there's like a minimum of, okay, let's say a 5 across the board, right? And so if you're above the 5, it's like, okay, well, I'm operating above average, but again, like not from a judgment space. I feel like when we're like assessing, sometimes that's where I'm like challenged with this idea. Cause I'm like, I feel like in some ways this is kind of in a judgment space when we're like assessing. And so I don't know, but do you guys get what I'm trying to get at? Like if you have like this is kind of like, and if I'm above 5, then it's fantastic. Do you know what I'm saying? And then if it dips below, then okay, we really need to start like digging in, or like, the word assessing is coming to mind. I'm like, no, I don't want to use that word. We have to like spend some time, reflect on that area of our life or something like this. Like the alarm bells are sounding or something of like, oh, here, pay attention to me kind of. Do you know what I'm trying to get at? Like, is this making sense for you guys?
Yeah, totally.
And why do they all have to be at a 10? Like, is that even realistic?
No. To me, when I think about it, if I'm trying to have a 10 in all areas of my life, that's exhausting. Because I just pulled up the template, like what's typically on the wheel of life, and you've got like health, finance, career, family, personal development, spirituality, relationships, social life. I get exhausted even just saying those all out loud, and being like, okay, what would a 10 look like in this area?
Can I weigh in here?
Yeah.
I want to challenge that because we can define this for ourselves. We can say what is a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Who gets to decide what a 10 is?
If you think this is exhausting, Tyler, then you probably, I'm obviously not coaching you right now, obviously not. Then you probably have a vision of yourself reaching that 10 out of 10 in every area that is exhausting. So you have like a subconscious belief that it must be hard to get there. I'm not trying to coach. Well, it's just like I had to say that out loud.
Well, yeah, that's very true. That's good. That's challenging. Yes.
Well, and I think too, it brings to mind though, like who is defining what a 10 is?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Who gets to decide? Like,
I think we need to do this, right? Like, it makes no sense if someone else tells me, oh, a 10 out of 10 in your finances means that you have $10 million in your bank account. Exactly. But what if my dream right now is to have 1 million and buy a house and live a happy life? I don't need 10 for that, right? So we should do this for ourselves. Well, and then we can set it as any goal as we want.
And I think that's like I'm just having like a big like kind of aha moment here when it comes to these exercises is that, again, it comes back to you have the power. You have the power to decide how you're going to use this tool and what is it going to mean for you, because you could do it so many different ways. You could ask yourself, okay, what does a 10 mean right now in all of these areas, and then go out and do that, or like, you know, create that judgment and then analyze from there. Or you could do it like how I was saying it, where it was like, okay, how much intention do you want to put into this area right now, given your season of life? And it could go that way, where you're finding your specific frequency. I think these self-development tools, like, again, they're very helpful, but you have to have that awareness and that power to be like, okay, this is how I'm going to use it to assess my life, and come out of it from a place of curiosity versus judgment and shame, because that's when it becomes very disempowering.
Yeah. Like, it's helpful as a tool, not a rule.
That's a nice one. I also remember that when I did my first few of those exercises, that I also, you know, being someone that's super hard on myself and a recovering perfectionist, I used to rate myself so harshly in those categories and give like almost every area like a 2 or 3 or whatever. And then I would sit there and kind of self-loathe and be like, oh, I suck, and, you know, and nothing's where it needs to be. So I also think there is specific for perfectionists or recovering perfectionists and people who are really good at giving themselves a hard time, that it can be very draining to do this, or very because it's so subjective. We can give ourselves like a really hard time doing this kind of exercise. So I recommend that you do this with other people or in groups or something, and unless you're by yourself, like that's something I would probably tell my younger self. Look, don't be so hard on yourself.
And in group, it is cool because you can kind of like be curious and just like, you know, have, oh, I'm curious why you rated this like this. And someone could say, oh, if I was at that stage in that area, I would have given myself a 10 and you only gave yourself a 2. Like, what does that mean? You know, like, it's just so interesting. Yeah, totally. When we can do this in groups. And I'm also like, I know this is like totally a side note, but I'm like, I'm sorry, technology gods. Like, I feel like now they're so angry with us because now Stephanie's connection, we heard everything that you were saying, but it was a bit spotty. So I'm like, they're mad at us. So I just want to say, we love you. Thank you for all that you do. Please don't cut us off.
I thought it was me again, and I was like, oh boy, this is gonna be a day.
I experienced it too, so it's definitely on Stephanie's end. So
I did actually see the Wi-Fi signal, and it's saying like hello. Yeah. I'm not on like cable today. I'm like on Wi-Fi, so
it's all good. We still heard what you said, but it kind of like was cutting out, and so I'm like, oh no, we made somebody angry.
The tech gods are not happy today.
Yes.
So we apologize. We love you very much. We're so grateful that we have the opportunity to do this podcast because of all the technology that is out there.
Yes.
Please accept our apology.
Sending gratitude. And
yes, lots of love, hugs, kisses.
Lots of love.
Oh my gosh, you guys. I love this. This is so good. Like,
what did we even talk about today? Can we do a reflection? Because I feel like we went all over.
I actually did that just now too. I was like, wait, what am I taking away from today?
Yeah,
like,
I know. I really feel like I need like a moment to be like, okay, what's my takeaway today?
Yeah, and I was then thinking, okay, how did we start? Wait, we started with the Kaya vibe today, but then, like, what happened the first 20 minutes? I already
Well, I think
we talked about our coaching journeys.
And like the gaps between where we are, where we want to be, the work self versus the personal self, and how do we like B word.
Okay, so I think my takeaway or my golden nugget today is that I really like that we opened up that conversation of how separate or how overlapping are the work self and the personal self. Because I sensed that we were all like, wait, we were all a bit flustered with like, do we merge them? Do we like, how do we approach this? So I don't know if I have like a golden nugget already, but I just like that is ruminating inside of me right now. And then I'm taking this away as like let's see where my brain goes with this in the future. That's my takeaway.
I love that. And I would probably, I don't know. Yeah, I'm still like digesting and allowing all of this to like fully land. And I think this also reminder of how we can be our own worst critics, and that we need to be really mindful of that. And when we step into that space to like, okay, there it is. Let's get out of judgment and let's step back into curiosity, because it's so much more fun. And I think life just unfolds in a much more joyful way when we do that. So I always appreciate those reminders of like, hey, you know, recovering perfectionist, stop being so hard on yourself. You are enough. You are doing enough. Like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about all these pieces of the wheel that might feel like they're not all out of 10. As long as we're aware of them and we're working towards something more aligned, soulfully aligned.
Yeah. What are you even working on when everything is a 10? So maybe it's good that it's not. Sorry. That was that's something to think about. Sorry. Just forget I said that. Please, Tyler. Share your golden nugget from today.
I think my golden nugget is really more of just an appreciation for the chapters, the seasons, the moments of life that we get to grow through. And this like complete kind of letting go of the timeline and what you think is going to take versus the reality of like letting life play out for you. Like, I think it's such a beautiful experience. It's such a wonderful journey that we get to be an active participant in without trying to control it all. You know what I mean? Because I look back and I go, oh, you know that chapter of day drinking and debauchery? Like, that was a very fun chapter, you know? And because I went through that and I learned a lot and I grew from those experiences, it has now landed me to where I am today. And so it's like, have gratitude and appreciation for those moments and for the mistakes and for the embarrassing things that happened during those day drinking events and whatnot. But like, it's just like all of that shapes us into who we are today. And we just get to have such a beautiful, like, active participation in life if we choose to do it. And if we choose to be aware of what's happening around us and for us. And I don't know, just a lot of gratitude towards life and this journey.
So beautiful. What a great way to end off today. As much as I'm like, now I don't want it to end. But when do we ever? So we will be back next week, same time, same place. We'll see you all then. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Come As You Are, the podcast. You can follow the show on Instagram at Kaya the Podcast and on YouTube and Facebook by searching Kaya the Podcast. If you haven't already done so, please help us keep the conversations going by subscribing, rating, reviewing, and sharing this podcast. And be sure to join us next time for another deep conversation.